Why health journals are called for climate action. The editors have urged governments to treat climate change with the same kind of urgency that was shown in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic. In a first of its kind effort, editors of more than 220 leading health journals from all over the world have published a joint editorial asking governments to take immediate and more ambitious climate action to hold global temperatures from rising beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade from pre-industrial times. The editors have urged governments to treat climate change with the same kind of urgency that was shown in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. The science is unequivocal. A global increase of 1.5 degrees centigrade above the pre-industrial average and the continued loss of biodiversity risks catastrophic harm to health that will be impossible to reverse, the editors have said. The concerns raised. The editorial highlighted the escalating health impacts of climate change and pointed out that these impacts disproportionately affect the most vulnerable, including children, older population, ethnic minorities, poorer communities, and those with underlying health problems. Concern is growing that the temperature rises above 1.5 degrees centigrade are beginning to be seen as inevitable or even acceptable to powerful members of the global community. Insufficient actions means that temperature increases are likely to be well in excess of 2 degrees centigrade, a catastrophic outcome for health and environmental stability. More can and must be done now and the immediate years that follow. Many governments met the threat of COVID-19 pandemic with unprecedented funding. The environmental crisis demands a similar emergency response, it said. Why health journals? Climate change has several adverse health impacts, both direct and indirect. Heat-related diseases triggered by extreme heat events which are on the rise because of changing climate are an example of direct health impacts of climate change. Changing crop patterns, declining yields, water scarcity, extreme precipitation are expected to have health consequences as well. Food shortages and resultant malnutrition are considered major side effects of rising temperatures. World Health Organization estimates that about 250,000 excess deaths are likely to be caused by climate change-induced factors, malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress between 2030 and 2050. Indeed, the joint editorial points out that higher temperatures have led to increased dehydration and renal function loss, dermatological malignancies, tropical infections, adverse mental health outcomes, pregnancy complications, allergies, and cardiovascular and pulmonary morbidity and mortality. Why now? The joint editorial in health journals comes weeks ahead of COP26 and 26th edition of the annual UN's climate conference in Glasgow. Before that, a similar UN meeting of biodiversity is scheduled in Kunming, China. The editorial is part of the exercise to create a momentum for concrete and ambitious decisions at these meetings. Such exercises are normal in the run-up to the big meetings. In the weeks and months leading up to the climate summit, there is usually a lot of activity. Countries unveil new plans and pledges. NGOs and research institutions release several reports and studies. Protest and demonstration take place, all aimed towards creating sufficient pressure on negotiators to come to more ambitious agreements. All these do feed into the decision-making process and to some extent also influence the final outcome of these meetings. The editorial emphasizes on the need to hold global rise in temperature to 1.5 degrees centigrade, not just 2 degrees centigrade, is in line with growing clamor to put pressure on the governments not to abandon the 1.5 degrees centigrade. The recent IPCC report had mentioned that the 1.5 degrees centigrade target was likely to be reached in less than 2 decades. Thank you.